Meeting at 7 p.m. Please stand and join me in a salute to our flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we read the special meeting, actually, Mr. Withers, would you kindly read the special meeting notice and then we'll go into a couple of it.
I certainly will. Date, December 11th, 2018, to members of the Municipal Council from Mark J. Cooper, Council President. Councilors, by authority of Article 2, Section 2-7C of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter, I hereby call a special meeting of the Municipal Council as follows. Date, Tuesday, January 8th, 2019, time, 7 p.m. Place, council chambers, and the purpose is regular meeting and committee meeting and any legal matter that may come before the council. CC Mayor Paul Theroux.
Thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to suspend the We'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Kobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. So the reason to suspend the rules this evening is to, we're going to go into recess, go into our committees, do the committees, and then come back before the full council to do mayor's communication and committee reports. Before I entertain the motion to recess for that purpose, I just would like to say publicly to keep the Gillis-Perica family in your thoughts and prayers. As all of you are aware, Heather's brother, Vice President Perica's brother, passed away yesterday, and we want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers, and that's why she's not here tonight. So thank you. And at this time, I'd entertain a motion to recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We're recessed at 7:02 for the purposes of the committee meeting. You're up first, sir. Actually, let's just give us 1 minute to move around here.
I would like to call the Personnel and Human Services Committee to order at 7:02. Committee members present, Councilor Reynolds, Councilor Blair, and myself, Councilor Waterman. From the docket of January 8th, 2019, I would entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from Building Commissioner McDonough's requesting funds to cover the cost of overtime due to the continued leave of absence of one of the local inspectors. Therefore, the mayor hereby requests this honorable body transfer $10,000 from account 1241000-578300 from the citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1240100-513000, the protective inspection overtime.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any questions before, while we consider this matter? Any discussion at all? Therefore, I would call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the motion passes. Opposed? None. Motion passes. From the docket of January 8th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from Building Commissioner McDonough requesting funds to cover the cost to pay an alternate electrical inspector due to the leave of absence of the electrical inspector. Therefore, the mayor requests this honorable body transfer $4,500 from account 112-41000-578300 from the citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 124-01000-530101. This is the Protective Inspection Professional Services.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion on this matter? I do not either. So All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So
Motion passes.
the motion passes. Thank you. So we have, from the docket of December 18th, 2018, I would entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to confirm the appointment of Catherine Fierick to fill the 2-year term of Economic Development Director, term to expire February 2021. Ms. Fierick was offered the position with the City of Attleboro effective December 26, 2018, under a temporary 90-day appointment in accordance with Section 3.3B of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter. Do I have a second?
Sorry, do a second.
No second. Well, and the motion fails.
Nope, so it doesn't fail, it just stays. I already seconded it, so you can,
Stays in committee,
stays in committee, yeah?
Can I make a comment?
Nope,
I shouldn't.
because the motion's
Please?
not in order.
Okay.
No, he cannot, the
Oh, he
motion's not
can't.
in order.
No.
Okay?
If he wanted to, if one of the committee members wanted to second, they could, you could have the discussion, and then you could make a determination whether or not you wanted to pull back your second so that it would remain in committee. That's up to you.
Do we have a second?
That's it.
So
I-
moving on to the next motion.
I'll second it, but I'm going to withdraw my second. I'll second it for now so I can make a comment. Is that correct?
Yeah, you'd
Yes,
have
you
to.
may go ahead.
My comment is, I think it's too soon for a permanent appointment. I don't think we've aired it properly. I don't think we've got the information from the mayor's office that I like to see of what's going to be done, what the job description is. I think we asked for that at one time. The lady is working on a temporary appointment anyway. So until the mayor gives us some more information, I wouldn't hesitate not to vote on it at this time. I think we gotta hear from the administration a little bit more.
I did place a job description in everybody's box.
When?
This Friday?
I didn't get it, but that's beside the point. Maybe I haven't been in since Friday to check that box. I'm gonna withdraw my second anyway at this point.
So moving on to the next motion.
So we move on to the next motion. From the docket of December 18th, 2018, I entertain a motion to strike from committee the request of the mayor to confirm the appointment of Nicholas Lavoy, 25 Daly Street, to the Traffic Study Commission. The term was to expire February 2020.
Second.
We have a second on that. Do we have any discussion on that matter? Okay. I would only say that Nicholas Lavoy is being considered probably for something else. He decided not to do this. So that concludes, I would move to adjourn the meeting at,
You gotta vote on the motion
oh, I'm
to
sorry,
strike.
I apologize. So let us vote on the motion to strike. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All those opposed? No. That concludes the business of the Personnel and Human Services Committee.
Point of order, sir.
Point of order.
What I might recommend is that you recess this committee and come back to it. If you close it, you can't have any more discussion tonight.
Okay. So I would make a motion that we recess this committee.
Second.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes.
Wait, point of order. Council Reynolds, are you
I have no
Oppo-
problem. Aye.
in favor or opposed to? Because we have a duty to
In
vote.
favor to the
so-
recess.
To recess,
Favor to
okay.
recess,
Great,
yep.
thank you.
The motion passes.
So, we recessed at 7.
We recess at 7:10.
I'd like to call the Committee on Public Works to order at 7:10. I have one item to bring out this evening out of my committee. From the docket of November 20th, 2018, I move to approve the application from National Grid and Verizon to install 5 new poles at Dale Court Extension and relocate pole 6234 and renumber it to pole number 1. I need a second, Laura.
Oh, I'm sorry, second, I apologize, I'm very sorry.
That's okay. Not a worries. So these are 5 new homes that have gone in over on Dale Court, and it's to give them electrical and Verizon services to their new homes. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. I have no further business this evening for the Public Works Committee. And I'd like to ask for an adjournment.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 7:11. All those in favor? Aye, aye, great, thank you.
I'd like to call the Capital Improvement City Development meeting to order strictly for discussion. I have no motions to bring before you this evening, but since this is the only time I get to talk to you, I want to let you know that I did attend the Municipal Building Commission meeting last week, and they are moving full steam ahead on the library. And if you attended the School Building Commission joint meeting a couple of weeks ago, you saw that we now have a timetable for the phases for the high school to be built through the year 2022. There was no developments in either committee that were alarming. Everything seems to be moving along very smoothly. And I'm expecting a capital improvement plan within a month, because the charter says it has to be delivered on February 1st. And aside from that, I think everything's going very, very well. Very pleased that the Sanford parking garage is moving forward, and really looking forward to the capital improvement plan. So with that, I'll conclude the business for the capital improvement, unless members have anything that you want to bring up. Yes?
I'm not a member, but, so that February 1st deadline, does that book just get updated and things are added to it and things are removed that we're attending to, or how does,
Yes,
what's the
the
process?
process is that the city planner sends a memo out to all the department heads in the city and says, tell me what you think you need to change from last year's plan to this year's plan. And they respond to him, and then he typically meets with the department heads to go over what they're going to do in the book. Then he edits the book and sits down with the mayor, and the mayor gets an opportunity to see it, and then the mayor sends it down to the council for approval. That book has been delivered as late as August. But I've asked the mayor this year to not interfere with the incredibly busy schedule of the city planner, to allow the city planner to get that book done on time. Because I would like that book reviewed before the budget comes down, so that we can know when the budget comes down, what capital improvement projects we want to pay attention to. So I know from the department heads that they have received a memo from Mr. Erasian. I know that they've been meeting with him. I know that he's working on the book. I have not heard any news that it would not be delivered on February 1st, so I'm assuming it's going to be delivered on February 1st per the charter.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion?
No, thank you.
Great, then I'll adjourn the committee on capital improvements and city development.
Zoning and land use is canceled for tonight.
And canceling traffic and transportation.
I have nothing. Do you have anything?
Who's on traffic and transportation?
Then we
I'm
move-
not on it.
I am.
Oh,
Did you want, are
Do
we
you have it?
canceling that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Heather didn't tell me to, but I assume she would like to have it canceled tonight, so the Transportation Traffic Committee will be canceled tonight, and we'll pick it up again when Ms. Parika comes back.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call budget and appropriations to order at 7:15. I have three motions to bring before the committee tonight. We'll vote these in front of the full council next week. From the docket of January 8th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from Director of Council on Aging, Madeline McNeely, asking for funds to replace several emergency lights and exit signs. Therefore, the mayor hereby requests this honorable body to transfer $4,875 from account 11241-000-578300 to account 1541100-524011, Council on Aging, Maintenance of Buildings. Of course, it's coming from Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. This is pretty straightforward. So Madeline sent a memo to the mayor. A recent inspection of emergency lights and exit signs at the senior center showed the following replacements need to be done. 4 in the basement, 4 emergency lights and 2 exit signs. First floor, 8 emergency light units, 7 exit signs, 3 ceiling mounted emergency lights. Second floor, 13 emergency lights and 2 exit signs. This was coming from Boyvin Electric. Questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes, thank you. Secondly, from the docket of January 8th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from Attleboro Public Schools Director of Finance, Mark Furtado, for fiscal year 2018 fiscal obligations that were not processed in the normal fiscal year 2018 business cycle. Therefore, I hereby request this honorable body to authorize the school department to pay these previous year school bills totaling $2,112.68 as identified in Mr. Furtado's communication.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. To my committee members, we did receive the backup information which shows the invoices. Most of them came in November of 18, which is why we're doing it right now. If anyone needs to back up, let me know. I can certainly get that out to you. This is, again, it's just authorization for the school department to be able to go through and pay their obligations. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Finally, from the docket of January 8th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from Attleboro Public Schools Director of Finance, Mark Furtado, asking for an appropriation from the E-Rate Stabilization Fund in order to purchase a variety of technological items. Therefore, I request this honorable body to appropriate $46,476.42 from 8505-599000 E-Rate Stabilization Fund, other financing uses, to Fund 2701-499000 E-Rate IT Fund, other financing sources.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. Okay, couple things on this. So, first of all, I just want to kind of review what the E-Rate Stabilization Fund is. I know we've done it a couple times so far this year. The E-Rate, funds are those funds administered by the Universal Service Fund. A fee is charged to companies that provide telecommunication services. These fees fund the Universal Service Fee, which falls under the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC. These funds are intended to support affordable internet access in all schools and libraries. What we've been seeing since we've enacted this, 12, 18 months ago, is the E-Rate Stabilization Fund goes to pay primarily for Chromebooks. So the breakdown of that 46,000 is 20 charging stations for Chromebook storage. These will be used in conjunction with 13 stations we already have to store the 500-plus Chromebooks needed for the high school standardized testing in the new calendar year, which we're currently in. These are needed to deploy the Chromebooks prior to the end of the current calendar year. Total requested for that is $96.26 and 10 cents. 12 touchscreen Chromebooks for use for our special needs students. Total requested $3,408. 36 standard student Chromebooks for replacement of non-repairable Chromebooks at the middle schools. $9,000. District's annual Microsoft licensing requirement, $19,662.32. Licensing for our Screenscape digital output software, $3,800. Microsoft Surface to replace an old and not repairable device, $980. So the current balance in there is $140,632. After this appropriation, we will still have $94,155.61. As with all stabilization accounts, we're limited what we...
Can you say that last number again? How much will we have left at the end? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, $94,155.61.
Thank you.
You know, I want to thank Deb Gould again for getting all the information. I do have some, because the stabilization account, we've done a couple times, but I have backup historical documentation of when it came down for the account to be established, exactly what it is. So if anyone wants that, just so you have it, I think it's a good tool to have. I can get that to you after the meeting. Deb Gould was nice enough to print it, bring it down, and Virginia printed it, so I have plenty of copies. So this stabilization is usually used primarily for the Chromebooks and any ancillaries that go along with it. So thank you for allowing me that leeway, but I think it's important when we're talking about that amount of money to really understand what it's for and where it comes from. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Before I adjourn, I too would like to pass along my condolences to the Gillis-Perica family, as well as the family of Bob Bamberg, who, the former owner of the Old Barn. And I'm sure everyone here knows him. He was a great fixture across the city. And I know everyone talked to Bob about animals, and you know, we are all familiar with the Sun Chronicle, and George, very nice article in the paper today, remembering Bob. But Bob and I have another bond in common. Bob and I are both alumni from Stoneham High School, and we would also often talk about the paths that brought Bob to Attleboro, brought me to Attleboro several years later, and our old alma mater. So Bob will be missed. But that being said, I would look to adjourn at 7:22.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and we are adjourned at 7:22. Yeah.
I'd like to call License Committee to order at 7:22. I have one motion this evening. I entertain a motion to approve, from the docket of January 8th, 2019. I entertain a motion to approve the application dated December 18th and 17th, 2018, from Papagino's, Inc., 103 Pleasant Street, Attleboro, for a coin-operated amusement device license.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Motion passes. That's all the business I have for License Committee. I'd like to adjourn at 7:22.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the City Property and Claims Committee to order at 7:22 to a 3. Thank you. And I only have one matter on the docket tonight. So from the docket of January 8th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from the Director of Veteran Services, Ken Badgershire, for the donation of $25 in Dunkin' Donuts gift certificates from Patricia Vieira in memory of her late husband, Joseph R. Vieira. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. Any concerns or questions? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Pat and Joe are neighbors of mine. They're great people, and I think it's really nice for her to try to do something in honor of her husband. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. And I request an adjournment at
7:24.
Thank you. What'd you say, 25?
7:24.
7:24. All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And we are adjourned at 7:25.
I'd like to call the Ordinance, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee to order at 7:25. Committee members are myself, Council Waterman, and Council Jackson. I have one motion tonight, and I'd like to call for a public hearing as well. So I'll start with a motion from the docket of October 16, 2018. I move to approve the following addition to the ordinance of the City of Attleboro as it pertains to plastic waste reduction.
Second.
Thank you. I'm gonna, I read this into record already. We were waiting for for Mr. Perry to send in some information, and he did do that. It was an email from December 28th. The one suggestion that he had, which I can make an amendment for, was to change the date from July 1st, 2019 to October 1st, 2019. Besides, and then he also had a suggestion of he felt like there was one area where plastic bags were exempt, but then also that places are expected to accept them. And so he had a little bit of a concern there. And I think that we can also make an amendment to have it be larger stores, which is like the Stop and Shop, similar to what I was talking about. So places like laundromats, smaller organizations don't have to have a bin to collect the plastic. They would be exempt from that. So those were the suggestions that he made.
So you're going to offer up amendments?
I'm going to offer, so I guess I will ask for an amendment, or how do I do that? How do I go about that?
Why don't you offer the amendment?
Or we could do it what is before the full council.
We certainly can to have the full discussion. Did everybody receive the email from him, though?
Yes, in
Okay,
fact,
good.
Virginia just handed out paper copies.
Handed out, okay, perfect. So if we would like to have the full discussion from the full council, I'm comfortable doing that.
Okay.
So,
I'm fine with that. I did not see the email yet.
okay. So all those in favor to move that?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And then I would like to, from the docket of November 6, 2018, I move to call for a public hearing regarding the business to amend Section 11-11 under Chapter 11, offenses of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro as it pertains to hunting and firearms.
Second.
So this is just to call for the public hearing. We're not going to have a discussion right now. It's just to ask for a public hearing, and I believe it will be early February. All those in, any other, so?
No, it's fine.
Yes, I think we should wait to hear from the public. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if anyone noticed this, this mini library at Capron Park, did anybody see this post? So basically, this 6-year-old, I can't find the article, of course, but it was a 6-year-old that asked her dad that was visiting Cape Cod over the summer and saw these a mini library, and she wanted to have them in Attleboro. So it's basically a little house, and people can drop off books or pick up a book if they'd like.
Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah, so I talked to Derek Corsi today, and I was so excited to see this, and he's really hoping that even to collaborate with the carpentry department at the high school and maybe have them in locations all around the city. I know Councilor Dolan had even mentioned maybe Angel Park or just anywhere where there's a bus stop, or it's so nice to see that like a 6-year-old had a vision like this and to bring it forward. So I just wanted to kind of give it a little plug. But besides that, I have no other business, and I will call for an adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned at 7:28.
Public Safety Emergency Management has no committee business this evening. Answer.
Council rules and procedures, is anybody?
The council on, the committee on rules and, special committee on rules and procedures is canceled tonight.
Tax Abatement Review Committee is also canceled this evening. I'll be discussing, I'll have a committee meeting next week, though. Thank you.
So we're gonna, everybody's done, right? We'll resume at 7:40, so we can get all our paper ducks in a row and.
Yeah. What's her first name again? She's over here. Just gonna introduce myself.
Sign that. Thank you. Mr. Waterman, sign it, and that's the new business.
Kate,
Yes. Yes.
Personnel and Human Services Committee to order. And I would like to,
46.
6.
on the 746, thank you. All right. Point of order. May I make the motion again?
Yes.
I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to confirm the appointment of Catherine Fierick to fill the 2-year term of Economic Development Director, term to expire February 2021. Ms. Fierick was offered the position with the City of Attleboro effective December 26, 2018, under a temporary 90-day appointment in accordance with Section 3-3B of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. At this time, before we have any votes, I would like to ask Catherine if you would like to come to the podium. And I would invite you to share yourself and what you perceive of your job to be. Hopefully, most of us have the description of the job, and we can ask any questions we feel like asking. That would be fine.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for having me tonight. I know that things got off rocky, but I'm sure that they won't be for long. So thank you for letting me speak. My name is Catherine Fierick. I am originally from a tiny little town halfway between Wheeling, West Virginia and Columbus, Ohio called Zanesville. And I went to school in Chicago, then Columbus, worked for the state of Ohio for a while. Then I performed similar work for a municipality. It's a township, but in that part of Ohio, townships are very large, outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. From there, I traveled to Washington, D.C., where I've been working for the Appalachian Regional Commission, which we call the Appalachian Regional Commission, so I may slide into that from time to time. But my role there was downtown revitalization. So I would help communities that had ideas to form them into fundable projects. I would work with them on ways to demonstrate to the federal government that their money had investment in some capacity. So we'd work on measuring things like revenues that were gained through local business surveys. We'd do things like measuring leveraged private investment, how much developers were willing to invest in a community as they perform these projects, how many people were brought into a downtown or new visitors to a park. All of these criteria have value behind them, have money behind them. So in my profession, I've been able to see a tremendous slice of workforce development, finance, tax incentives, tourism, a little bit of everything. And I've seen communities in a 13-state region and then some who've really had some tremendous ideas. What attracted me to Attleboro really was the community itself. There are a lot of assets here that are not fully appreciated and not fully utilized. For one thing, we've got 2 interchanges on I-95, more than that, I believe. We have 2 train stations that go between the cities of Boston and Providence. That's an immense asset. There's a dense, compact urban core, traditional architecture, very walkable, and yes, it has a vacancy problem now, but it doesn't have to. There's a new wave of young families that will be leaving the city soon. Cities like Attleboro that have room to stretch out, that have square footage, that are still affordable. These are communities that are going to benefit in the future. So what I saw in Attleboro was an incredible opportunity, both professionally and personally, to be able to stretch out from my DC box myself, but also to hopefully assist this community in really being one of the winners in the economy moving forward. So that's a little bit about my background, a little bit about why Attleboro was such an opportunity in my eyes, and a little bit about kind of the fun that I really think I'm going to have in this position, because there's a lot to do.
Please, Mr. Connie.
Catherine, welcome to Attleboro. One of my concerns about your position is that a 2-year period is very, very short for the monstrous task that you face. We're in stiff competition with other cities that are in close proximity to Attleboro. We have little more to offer them than anyone else of the cities around us. but you decided to take on the challenge, and I want to hear why you decided to do that, given just a 2-year window.
The 2-year window is a bit daunting, but the 2-year window also allows me a chance to set baselines, to tweak our our current vacancy ordinance to try to get business owners to be more proactive, to tell us, hey, we have a space coming open, so that we can work in advance and make sure that everything is ready to go. It is a very short time, but I at least hope to establish some baselines to get all the data that we need to move forward. And really, there are a lot of opportunities in the city right now that I think could develop within the next 2 years if we play our cards right, in terms of development, in terms of courting property owners to hopefully sell some of their properties if they're not interested in developing themselves, find interested parties to develop new, exciting, mixed-use type developments in the urban core, and less dense uses as you move outward from the city center. So yes, it is a daunting period, the 2 years, but I already have some ideas on ways that I can get the data that I need and pursue the programs that make sense for the context of Attleboro.
So, in Massachusetts, we have a tax increment financing incentive for businesses to move into cities and towns that promise a certain number of jobs or an expansion of existing jobs. And it's a rather controversial piece of law because TIF, tax incentive financing agreements, take tax dollars away from the community that is receiving the benefit of more jobs. And it's a very, in my opinion, poor tax policy, but it's controversial tax policy. But we're stuck in a situation where our neighboring communities are offering very liberal TIFs. Mm-hmm. And it's made our city more competitive, and sometimes at a competitive disadvantage, because other communities have either new business parks or a very aggressive development program. Mm-hmm. Have you had the opportunity to look into TIF programs?
I have. That was one of the first things that I looked into, actually. TIF in Massachusetts is a little different from what I've worked with in the past. It is somewhat of a straight abatement. It's a graduated abatement. So the way it works is the assessed property at baseline, what the city's already getting, it continues to receive. But if a developer comes in and they invest $2 million plus into their property, and all of a sudden the tax assessment goes up, that wedge is forgiven essentially in property taxes for a period, and again, it's graduated here in Massachusetts, so it's 100% abated in year one, then it goes to 80%, et cetera, typically. That's a little different from the TIFs that I have worked with in the past, just the structure of it and the legal applications of it. And you're right, it is, in this iteration, it is more of a straight abatement, and it is a way that you can see that the city is not, is forgoing revenues. However, the city continues to receive what it already is. So if it makes a lot of sense, and if a developer says, you know, if I can't get this TIF, then there's a gap in my financing. The revenues that I'm going to be deriving from this property just won't make it worthwhile to come here. That's when you can use TIF, but you have to be judicious in it. So I believe in considering all the options, but I think that it's going to be a case-by-case basis, and we really have to make sure that there's going to be a clear benefit to the city if we do use it. There's another program called DIF, District Incentive Financing, which is much closer to what I've worked with in the past. That same wedge of increment above the current assessed value, that's put into a separate fund that the city can use for additional services to do, streetscaping improvements or bury power lines or whatever the developer really wants to happen in the public realm. So that's what I'm more familiar with. But I'm still learning and still wrapping my mind around those incentives. Before the city consents to any one of those incentives, I want to make a strong case that it's going to assist the city.
Your DIF program is much like a small business exemption, which I stand steadfastly against,
Okay.
Along with the residential exemption. And this council, while it can have the opportunity of voting each year during tax classification for a residential exemption and a small commercial exemption, has not, because it just has not been deemed worth the discussion so far. The third thing I wanted to talk to you about was South Attleboro. This city in the past 3 to 5 years has seen the majority of its growth between Rhode Island and North Attleboro along Route 1, which is all retail.
Right.
And that seems to have been our best opportunity for expansion. Well, I understand you are brand new to the job. Have you had an opportunity to survey the city, and do you see that South Attleboro corridor as a large potential for growth in the future?
I've seen, I've actually taken several separate tours of the city through the eyes of multiple people, and I am going to keep on doing that. So far, I've had the eyes of a councilman, I've had the eyes of the mayor, I've had the eyes of the Attleboro Redevelopment Authority, a realtor. So what I'm seeing is different through everybody's eyes. And with South Attleboro, I do see a potential for further development. However, the beauty of the city is really that its development patterns are completely different no matter where you go. There's a space for just about any use, for any business here in Attleboro. And though there is a tremendous potential for growth in South Attleboro, I think it's happening organically. I don't think that it'll take as much effort from me to get the ball rolling there as it does to show some love and attention to our downtown area.
So, Catherine, I'm anticipating that you're going to be approved tonight, and that you recognize the value in maintaining a relationship with the municipal council.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to ask the chairman of the Personnel and Human Services that he consider in the future, upon your acceptance, and that you return to the council on a perhaps
Quarterly.
Half-year cycle to report on your progress, so that we can ponder the challenges that you face and perhaps come up with ways that we can help you. We have done this with the Attleboro Redevelopment Authority on a quarterly basis when they were very active, and it improved the relationship between the authority and the council, in my opinion,
Okay.
as the chairman of the Capital Improvements and City Development. So I consider you somewhat a capital improvement city development arena, even though you're under Personnel and Human Services. So I know that I, for one, would really enjoy your return on a 6-month basis to report not on what you've accomplished, but a kind of a state of the commercial development address on a 6-month basis. And that concludes my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councilman Blair.
Hi. Kathleen, before I start, right, I want to publicly apologize if I embarrassed you over there tonight.
You did.
This didn't come down in the normal fashion, and I honestly felt, nothing to do with you, that we were sort of rushed on your appointment. I just got your resume this evening, and I'm not blaming anybody for that. It was put in our box. I couldn't find it in mine, but it was put in there Friday. I was unaware that you were coming before the council tonight, and my comments were made strictly to the administration and not to you. I have your resume now to come down Friday also. Very, very impressive.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you didn't come all the way here from where you live and you've worked for no good reason. You come because of what you've stated tonight. You see the possibility.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I would like you to come down earlier or come down tonight, and then us brought the motion in a couple weeks. That would have been my way of doing it. But it looks like we're very fortunate to have somebody of your caliber interested. So I again apologize if you took it as an insult to you personally,
Oh, not at all.
or, you know, my secretary told me I was really out of line. I haven't been told that since I left home. So, I apologize, and good luck.
I'll be fine. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Ezio.
Thank you, Chairman Waterman. Welcome. Thank you for coming down. I'm glad we do have this opportunity to speak with you. I had the opportunity to read your resume. It's quite impressive. I'm a hiring manager myself, and resumes are words on a paper. So you've been able to come down and articulate why you came to Attleboro. It's obvious you're able to talk about some of the successes you've had in your past career, and I think that's great. I look forward to speaking with you more. Tonight's probably not the opportunity. However, I would like to know about your vision for the city. So you told us what brought you to Attleboro. Can you talk a little bit about what your vision is?
Sure.
And then I have a follow-up after that, if I may.
Yes, absolutely. My vision for Attleboro really is a community that can meet the needs of all members of society. Of course, for the tax base, we really want people, like myself, no children, single, to come to the center core, to really activate the urban downtown, to really revitalize all these properties that we have, these gorgeous buildings that are all around the downtown area. That's one part of my vision. Another part of my vision is maintaining quality services, quality schools that keep young families here. But then, of course, there are also needs for individuals who have limited mobility, individuals as they age, allowing a place where people can do so in place. That also helps to activate the more walkable stretches of Attleboro, because you need certain people with high income. You also need people who are need the services on a daily basis. So my ideal for Attleboro is a place where I personally can age in place, where if I need to take my mother in, if something happens to her as she's getting older, I can take her here and she can still be fairly independent. That's the kind of community that I want to live in, and that's the kind of community that I want Attleboro to be, to have selections for everyone.
Thank you. Follow-up, if I may. Oftentimes, we've sat here, and I know several people around this horseshoe have advocated for very vocally about a position like yours. I know I'm one of those people, so I'm glad to see that this is where we're at this point. I've talked, Council Conti and I talked 2011, 2012 about a business liaison sort of situation. A couple things that we've seen and that we hear often is Attleboro's not business friendly. So while you're doing your tours, which I think is outstanding, that's really the best lay of the land. Talk a little bit about what have you encountered that business unfriendliness, or how was some of the ways that you think we can overcome that perception to really kind of put the proverbial, hey, we're open for business sign on the city of Attleboro?
Right, absolutely. That is something that I did hear from a few business owners when I got in here. I discussed it with several individuals, director of planning, with the mayor, with several others, and in the last several years, there has been a one-stop shop that has been developed in Attleboro, but it's new. It was a joint collaborative effort among the different departments to get something together. I haven't yet seen the documents surrounding it, but that's something that I really want to see succeed, because the primary concern from the business owners really wasn't that City Hall was unfriendly or that it was a personality type of issue. It was really that all the activities are siloed.
Sure.
And they got lost trying to navigate the system. So hopefully a one-stop shop type program. Like I said, I haven't seen the documents yet, but the planning director has told me that there's a lot of really good stuff that has been implemented so far. So I hope to get in there and help that process be a little more streamlined.
Excellent. And one more, if I may.
One more thing.
What challenges do you foresee?
There are a lot of challenges, actually. First and foremost is perception, and that's haunted me my entire career.
Sure.
When people say to themselves, nothing's ever going to happen, nothing's going to move here, it's ridiculous. Why are we wasting time? Why are we wasting money? That kind of attitude is self-defeating, and it causes a spiral of negativity. I have not witnessed that so far in Attleboro, but I'm sure that I will. That's probably the number one challenge that any community faces, is the people who they kind of want to be right more than they want their community to succeed. That's challenge number one. Challenge number two is that we do have an incredible vacancy rate in the downtown, and business attracts other business. But when you're starting from a baseline that's that deteriorated, that's that underinvested, it's going to be difficult to get the first few tenants in there. So I'm going to have to be pretty active and pretty creative in strategies to address that. A third one is, it's part of the charm of the community, I think, but it's also an obstacle. The downtown's very compact. It's old. It's traditional. It was built in many cases before automobiles. And as such, there are limitations in what we can do and how we can build. And that includes things like parking, which everybody brings up, and that's not just Attleboro, that's everywhere. But issues like parking, issues like accessibility, timing the streetlights correctly so that people can walk in an efficient manner, that they're not standing there waiting forever for the light to change and just losing interest, and then hopping in their car and driving 10 minutes instead. Those are the types of challenges that an old traditional downtown has, but they're not insurmountable. So I see them as obstacles, but not a single one of those is deterring me.
Thank you, and I'm glad we have the opportunity to speak tonight, so thank you.
Thank you.
Please, let's all have a chance.
Thanks. I'm so thrilled you're here, and I'm so glad we get the opportunity to talk to you. I love everything that you're saying, and I like when you said that you saw the city through other people's eyes, the mayor, another council person, and whomever else, ARA. It'll be great if you do come down, like Councilor Conti suggested, so we can see what you see through your eyes for people that I've lived here my entire life. So it'll be nice to hear from you on what you're feeling. And the negativity, you will, trust me, you're going to find it. It'll find you. But just so you know, every negative piece that you hear, there's somebody that doesn't feel that way. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I grew up here, and I love it here. It's different, you know. I mean, things weren't the same. Everybody has a story of when they were a kid and Cooper's was open and, you know, milkshakes and shopping, and we know it can't be like that. It can't be like that again. It just won't be. But I like to hear that you're determined to. I would love nothing more than to see people walking around this city at night, shopping, eating, drinking, listening to music, anything to that effect. So
Yeah,
I hope you. I'm sorry. No,
to that point, I will be getting each of you involved if there are issues that arise within your wards or at large, obviously for anyone. But I will be getting you involved because I think that it's necessary for you to know what local business owners are facing, especially if it's something simple. Like, I mean, I'm going to be talking to somebody tonight about just a very simple, very rational comment and suggestion that was made by a local business owner. So I would love to get you active.
Exactly. To see it through somebody else's eyes, because we all have a story here and we're all used to everything that goes on. And, some people may be complacent and some people may be just dying to be able to get your ear and, tell you something that they've been thinking for years. So I'm super excited, and I will do anything you ask of me. I'm so happy you're here, and I can't wait to see anything, to be honest with you. And I wish you nothing but luck.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for coming tonight. And you had me at a couple of different things that you said tonight. One was downtown revitalization, and I don't think there's one counselor that's sitting in this room or that has sat in this room for the last 20 years that hasn't been banging on doors in the city of Attleboro. I almost used a different word, complaining about downtown revitalization or the lack thereof. So thank you for pointing that out. The other thing that I think that you said that was of critical importance to others sitting here was that in previous positions you've had and I wrote this down verbatim, in previous positions you've had the opportunity to measure revenue, leverage private investment, understand the number of people that these investments bring to the downtown, that these projects have money behind them, and you've had experience in finance and tourism, and I love all of that. We have some gems in the city. Capron Park happens to be in Ward 2. Sturdy Memorial Hospital, very successful, one of the only successful small community hospitals that makes any money right here in the city of Attleboro. The other thing that I think you had me at, which is part of South Attleboro, most of South Attleboro is Ward 1, which is Councilor Reynolds, but a piece of that is Ward 2. And I love that you said South Attleboro is important, but you want to put your love and attention to the downtown. Again, that was so well said, and thank you for pointing that out. While I love South Attleboro and I love the revenue that South Attleboro brings to us, I don't think, and from these eyes, I don't think that that's where the focus should be from the EDD, and I love that you said that. So again, thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it. I look forward to bringing this before the full council later tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That concludes my comments.
I'm going to take Councilor Copus
Your
first.
committee, sir.
We'll all get a chance.
Your
and we'll come
committee,
back
sir.
to you.
It's fine.
Hi, Mrs. Farrick. Welcome to Attleboro.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. And just to reiterate some of the things that President Cooper said, a lot of what you said also resonated with me as far as between South Attleboro and downtown. And also just immediately and quickly recognizing that Attleboro is an affordable community, and that's part of the charm that attracts a lot of people here. But and we spoke earlier today, and one of the things that I wanted to ask about is, in looking at the resume, it is a great resume. It talks about a lot of the positions you held and responsibilities. But can you talk about some of the results in some of those communities? And
Sure.
For instance, you talk about writing a lot of grants and whatnot. Can you talk about some of that success?
I can. I will have to talk in generalities because it's very difficult for me to go back and get the actual numbers for what I've done in the past. But I was able to look at the primary business district in the community that I served prior to this role that was kind of a similar thing. Now, I was in that position for only 2 years. Life brought me to DC. It was not a desire to leave that position. It was a life decision, personal decision. But when I left that job, it was after only 2 years. But within that 2 years, I was able to complete I'm going to call it a downtown revitalization plan, though it was a much more traditionally 1950s to 70s suburban community. We actually won an award from the county on the plan because it included a financial segment at the end of it. What that gave me was the ability to go up to any developer and say, look, we paid an independent person to look at these numbers, and they find that this development scenario, mixed use, walkable, whatever it was, this made sense for this property, and these are independent figures. Go ahead, run it, but it's a powerful sales tool. So that, I guess getting that award was probably one of those achievements for me. But I also was able to look at the property values in that region. They have increased by over 10% in the area that we were serving. Not a lot as of yet, but again, consider it's a traditional suburban strip, so the property value increases aren't going to be as dramatic as something like a 7-floor building. It's one level, traditional big box retail. In my previous position, there were a lot of projects that jump into mind. There was a small community that was in eastern Tennessee, completely surrounded by mountains. You wouldn't even know it was there. They were able to take their vacancy rate from 80% down to 40%. And the way they were able to do this was it was twofold. One, they had an incredibly innovative, dynamic Wi-Fi provider who was able to string the entire downtown with Wi-Fi. That encouraged businesses to locate there. The second thing that they did was a co-starters competition, which is it's Tennessee specific, but I've seen it under different brand names in different states. And what it is you invite all the local prospective entrepreneurs to attend training classes. And in those classes, they create their own business plan. At the end of it, there's an independent judge of financiers, maybe administration officials, whatever it may be, and they rank the business plans. The winners get reduced rent, negotiate with the property owner, of course. They get other incentives provided by the city, maybe a Chamber of Commerce membership for a year, something like that. All the tools that they really need to have a successful business. So that brought their vacancy rates significantly downward, from 80 to, I want to say 20, but I don't have the numbers in front of me. Another project was an old theater, and this was in a small town in Georgia. This town, there was nothing going on really. The downtown was dead. The city decided to invest in this historic theater, and it was from about the 1930s, 40s. It had that Art Deco style to it, but it was starting to fade a little. They reopened the theater as kind of a cult attraction. So instead of showing first-run movies like it did back in its glory day, it would show all 3 Batman movies, or it would show the Rocky Horror Picture Show or The Room, one of those cult movies that brings a lot of people in. They served craft beer out in the lobby, and you could bring it in. They had gourmet food trucks outside. They made it an event. And in doing that, they dramatically increased the number of individuals that walked through the local businesses. When they did the business survey, it was something like 95% of those businesses surveyed said that they'd seen an increase in foot traffic and an increase in revenues as a result of the project. So what I see through those projects is activate those spaces, find ways to get people interested and out on the streets just walking around, because if they walk around, they're going to spend money. Another thing that I see from those projects is public investments that are good for everybody can also be funneled and narrowed to make sure that the local business community benefits from them. So there are a lot of approaches that I've seen, and there were a lot of different lessons that I've learned too. Not everything went swimmingly well. But hopefully by seeing so many of these test samples, I can figure out from the context of Attleboro, after I know the city a lot better, I can figure out what methods might work here.
Had you considered starting up one of those accelerators or the sandbox type things in this community?
Absolutely. That's something that I would love to do.
It's a great idea.
I come from the business finance world myself. I started my career as a loan officer for the state of Ohio and then for a microlender. So my passion is really small businesses and helping them to understand the basic mechanisms behind getting the money that they need to open their doors.
And it talked about solicitation of residential and commercial developers and revenue generating projects, and that's I think that's what you covered. So thank you. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. Councilor Deluzio.
Thank you. Sorry, as
No, you're fine.
the presentation goes on, so just a background, I'm a former business development officer for 3 different banks, so a lot of this is lingo I used to speak, so I'm encouraged to hear that. I was encouraged to hear you speak about the theater, because we have a wonderful theater right downtown, which I may or may not be involved in with Councilor Waterman, Attleboro Community Theater. So, you know, they do wonderful things, so that's really encouraging. I would recommend maybe reaching out to them as well.
Absolutely.
And I know I started on the whole negativity aspect of things, but I'd like to pull that back and just change the wording from negativity to more apathy. And I think what you'll see is probably not apathy, because everyone has a story to tell, but there's more apathy than negativity, I think, that you'll find. My question is, how would you partner with local agencies such as SEED, Southeast Economic Development?
I've actually already put out feelers to a lot of people, mainly through contacts, so I'm still kind of waiting for those connections to take place.
Sure.
But one of the things that I've learned is, first and foremost, in addition to competing with the neighboring municipalities, you're also working with them. Because if the region improves, all the rising tide lifts all boats. So I am working with other economic development directors in other areas to try to figure out what those regional challenges are and how to approach those together. I'll also be meeting with the state Mass Development next week, and they were incredibly happy to hear that there was somebody in Attleboro. They're really excited because this is a gateway community. It is one of their priorities. And in the past, you know, when somebody's wearing more than one hat, be they the ARA, be they the planning director, be they the mayor, it's impossible to really put the kind of time and the kind of effort into understanding and really correctly applying a lot of the tools that the state gives us. So I'm in the process of learning what the state has to offer. I'm in the process of learning what my peers in other communities have done, and hopefully I can get a really good idea of ways that Attleboro can emulate the good and avoid the bad.
Sure. We talked about South Attleboro and retail. Retail, as we know, is changing dramatically.
Yes, it is.
Do you see that as one of the potential challenges for Attleboro as retail continues to change, as the mom and pops, you know, become more and more specialized and more special boutique type shops, especially in South Attleboro where we're doing really well, and, you know, keep it coming. But what sort of challenges do you see that presenting potentially?
Well, the retail market is incredibly challenging, not only for people in our position and not only for consumers, but also for property owners. A lot of them still haven't come to terms with the fact that the market has changed and rents have not adjusted accordingly. But though that does pose challenges, exactly what you said, when it comes to niche opportunities, boutique opportunities, that's where we have to focus our efforts, because there are still people with disposable income, not only in Attleboro, but the surrounding communities. And if there's a really cool shop that is dedicated to the kind of thing that they like, they're going to want to seek it out, especially if the whole environment has that vibe to it. And I don't know what Attleboro's niche will be yet. I don't understand the market fundamentals quite yet. I will soon, but I'm not there yet. All we have to do is we have to brand ourselves in a certain direction. We have to pursue the opportunities that make sense for the context of the city. And I've said that many times, but everything is completely dependent upon the bits and pieces that you have. You can't build a place set if you don't have a slide.
I certainly agree. I think Attleboro has struggled for decades now coming up with our identity and what our brand is, so I'm very happy to hear that. Last question, Councilor. Can you talk a little bit about experience you have with building up TOD zoning, especially as now we have 2 transit-oriented development zones in the city? So I'm just curious about, have you had the opportunity to?
I have actually never had the opportunity, but always have wanted it, to work on a transit-oriented development.
Got it.
Yeah, I have it now, and I have it in spades and in multimodal capacity with both freeway traffic and with the train linkage, of course. That's very exciting to me, and I know that my partners have a wealth of experience and knowledge in what's been done here so far, and a lot of examples from other communities that they want to emulate. So I'm still definitely a novice when it comes to transit-oriented development, but it's something that's incredibly exciting to me, and it's something that I think we can move on in the near term.
Great. Thank you. That's it.
Are there any other questions? Please, Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in tonight. And I really loved how you talked about the 3 challenges, and businesses attract businesses. I think some things to keep in mind in this area is that in Attleboro, it's a large, it used to be a big manufacturing community, and I know in Lowell and even in Pawtucket, they are using these older buildings and having like indoor coffee shops and just kind of that whole, and I'm just waiting for Attleboro to turn the corner and hoping that we can get some new businesses in. But do you have any experience with how to go about encouraging businesses to keep their property looking a certain way? I guess like in that Tennessee area that you were describing that had 80%.
Yes, that varies dramatically depending on political will and depending on resident mindset. Some communities see it as a nanny state issue where if it's not affecting anyone else, then we shouldn't be legislating it. Other communities see it as a drain on property values for the adjacent properties. So that's something where I'm going to have to get a good pulse on the community itself, what type of ordinances might be palatable here and work for everyone. But we already do have a vacancy ordinance, and that's something that I am going to be looking into adjusting, tweaking it, hopefully offering both incentives to developers, working with them, for example, to help them fill their properties, even if temporarily through public art or something like that, but also to kind of nip at the ankles of people who aren't necessarily keeping their property up. Because if we have a vacancy registry of all the commercial properties that have no tenants right now, that'll give us the ability to call in our inspectors to say, are things up to code? Are things the way they ought to be? Are you keeping this building in good shape? And we do have an ordinance already, but it was developed in the wake of the housing crisis, and it really addresses the residential side more. But that's something that I am looking into. I haven't gotten a good feel yet as to what the community wants to see there.
Thank you.
Councilor Jackson.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Attleboro.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry, had to go through very early in the evening. Not a very warm reception from us. We're really not that bad. Well, some of us are, but not all of us. But welcome to Attleboro, and I think you're going to do very well here, Catherine.
Thank you.
And you're going to have a lot of fun working alongside with Gary Arasian, because he's our $6 million man. There's nobody that writes better grants than he does.
Oh, that's amazing.
So.
Yeah, he's been a wonderful resource to me so far, and really holding my hand through several aspects of what I'm going to be doing here.
I bet you wish you had him here earlier, huh? But anyways,
That's all right.
welcome. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Then it's my turn.
Okay.
I was the lucky one. We got to have about 4 hours together over the phone, and we went on a tour together.
We did.
And one of the aspects of your personality that I particularly appreciated and you might not even have realized it, was how good a listener you are. And I think when you're speaking to potential clients, potential businesses, the ability to really creatively listen is wonderful. So I encourage you to even further develop that. You're pretty good right now.
Well, thank you. I've always considered that a weakness. I appreciate the compliment.
No, we went to one business off of Pleasant Street, and we encouraged the owner to share some of her concerns. She did, and you were terrific at listening, and it allowed her to continue, which I thought was good. So, I'm sorry that we got a little rocky in the beginning, but I think we're getting to know who we are. And I hope you will be with us for more than 2 years. I'll say that right out now.
I hope so too. Like I said, I chose Attleboro. One of the 3 reasons that I moved here was because I want to live here.
So one other thing, I'll take a clue from you. One of the places that we visited was the senior center. And you got to learn that this is a city which is actually almost 1/3 comprised of seniors, 60 and older now. How do you see them fitting into the design that you might have in your brain?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the word design. There's a concept in urban planning called universal design.
Okay.
The statement being accessibility matters to everyone at every stage of life. So when we're designing walkable, tight-knit communities, when we're designing niche markets that people want to go to, we also do need to keep in the backs of our minds that we also need the basic services there, and we need them to be affordable to the people that need those. However, I believe that if somebody's walking or walking a stroller or has a dog, a seeing eye dog, if they're visually impaired, it doesn't matter what their needs may be. If you have a dense walkable community that makes good sense, that has people on the street corners at all nights or all times of the day, those are the communities that work for everybody. And if we are able to build up a successful, thriving retail district, that means more tax revenues that we can use to support city services, for one thing. It also means that there will be more options for people that, even if they have limited disposable income, everybody wants to go out to eat every once in a while. So they'll have more selection and more options there. So I really do hope that in developing Attleboro, we can keep a mind to the needs of people who are on fixed income or people who have limited means. Because, again, affordability is, I believe, one of the assets of this community.
Well, thank you. If there are no other questions, I think we'll proceed with a vote. Committee, are we ready to vote now?
Thank you.
You are excused from the vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's proceed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
An aye. So the vote is 3-0. And the vote passes, and I would move to adjourn the meeting at 8:29. That concludes the business of this Personnel and Human Services Committee. We'll call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
We just need Steve. Here he comes. Yes, on his 6th day. You got it. Ready? Is James ready? Call the council back to order at 8:29. We will go, there are no public hearings this evening, and all have been continued. We have, go on to the reading of the mayor's communication.
January 8th, 2019. Dear municipal councilors, as you are aware, on September 28th, 2018, your honorable body approved the transfer of $37,030 to replace the HVAC at the Shang Building / Registry of Deeds office. As you are aware, a 15% contingency was added to the quote. The project is now complete, and the contingency of $4,830 was not needed. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $4,830 from account citywide air conditioning unit to account citywide reserve fund for transfer. Upon approval, the available balance in the reserve fund for transfer will be $183,317.84. Copies in your packets.
Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by our honorable body the appointment of Cynthia Amara of Murphy, Hess, Toomey, and Lehane LLP to fill an expired term as city solicitor under a temporary 90-day appointment in accordance with Section 3-3B of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter. Term to expire February 2020.
Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Public Works Michael Tyler requesting a change to the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro, Section 11-9, discharge of water. The proposed change will clarify the language of discharging water on city streets. City Solicitor Cynthia Amara reviewed the changes and approved them to form. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body vote on the following amendment. 11-9.4, no person shall discharge or cause to be discharged surface or other water upon any street, sidewalk, or other public place, either by collecting the same upon his premises and discharging it upon the street, sidewalk, or other public place, or by changing the grade or surface of his premises so as to increase the amount or rate of the discharge upon the street, sidewalk, or other public place at such times or in such quantities that the water so discharged may freeze on any street, sidewalk, or other public place so as to cause a hazard to travel in the public way as determined by the Superintendent of Public Works. Furthermore, I hereby request your honorable body to hold a public hearing at the appropriate time on the above ordinance change.
Thank you. Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters. And Councilor Holmes, would you like to have a public hearing on that matter on February 19th?
Yes, thank you.
We'll have a, do we need a roll call vote, Steve, for the public hearing?
A voice.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. We'll have a public hearing on that matter on February 19th, 2019. I think I said 18. I'm sorry about that.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Public Works Michael Tyler regarding the receipt of $4,621.20 in funds from the Department of Public Utilities. These funds were part of a per-ride assessment for trips conducted by transportation network companies. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $4,621.20 from account DPU-TNC funds-assessment to account DPU-TNC funds-sidewalk reconstruction. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
Respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Water Courtney Wunschel regarding the need to replenish funds used to cover the cost to immediately fund a DEP recommended study after an internal transfer was made. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $22,000 from account Water Enterprise Fund, Reserve Fund for Transfer, to account Water Enterprise Fund, Activated Carbon Replacement. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Fire Chief Scott T. LaChance regarding to pay an invoice from Sterry Street Towing Auto Transport in the amount of $300 for fiscal year 2018. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $300 from account Fire Maintenance of Vehicles to account Fire Bills previous year. Copies in your packets.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
Respectfully submit a communication from Director of Veteran Services Ken Badacher regarding the donation of $100 and $200 in Stop and Shop gift cards from 2 anonymous donors. Additionally, the donation of Stop and Shop gift cards totaling $500 from the Disabled American Veterans Chapter number 91 of Attleboro. Lastly, the donation of gift certificates for various grocery stores and retail outlets totaling $815 from Alpha Delta Kappa, an international honorary organization for women educators. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Chief of Police Kyle P. Hegney regarding a grant that has been awarded via the 2019 Senator Charles E. Shannon Jr. Community Safety Initiative, or Shannon CSI, of $10,554.10. The Attleboro Police Department collaborated with the Taunton Police Department in seeking these funds. The Shannon CSI implements a multidisciplinary approach to combat gang and youth violence through coordinated programs for prevention and intervention. No matching funds are required by the city. In accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body approve expending of such funds in any future grant amendments by the Attleboro Police Department. Copies in your packets.
Public Safety Emergency Management Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from the Library Director, Christine Johnson, regarding the donation of an office chair with an estimated value of $126 from Monica Conlon. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
For your information, I regret to inform your honorable body we have received the resignation of Mary Ellen Murphy from the Council on Aging. Please join me in thanking Ms. Murphy for her service to the city. And I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding a vehicle that the Building Inspections Department would like to declare surplus, and hereby respectfully request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus for resale value and available for disposition. Copies in your packets. It is a 2007 Ford Taurus with 137,000 miles, and it is in poor condition.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
Sincerely, Paul Haru, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to the other
I
communications.
have three tonight, not too many. We have received an application from Kenneth Blair of 15 Paddock Lane, Attleboro, for a hawkers and peddlers license to sell pizza from a mobile truck.
License Committee, please.
We have received an application from Corey Blair of 41 Hayes Avenue, Attleboro, for hawkers and peddlers license to sell pizza from a mobile truck.
License Committee, please.
And we received a certified vote dated January 8th, 2019, from the Planning Board, who voted unanimously to recommend the council adopt the proposed amendments zoning ordinance 17-2.1.3A and B as it pertains to the marijuana business and industrial zoning districts.
Zoning and Land Use Committee, please.
And that ends all of the communications, Mr. President.
Thank you. Moving right along to committee reports, we will start with Council Jackson.
Thank you. Reporting for Public Works Committee. From the docket of November 20th, I approved the motion of an application from National Grid and Verizon to install 5 new poles at Dale Court Extension and relocate pole 6234 and renumber to pole number 1.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments, Council Jackson?
No, we spoke about this in committee earlier this evening. This is to give access to new residents, new homes that have just been built on Dale Court.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and I believe starts with Councilor Blair.
Yes. Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no further business this evening, but would like to call for a committee meeting at the appropriate time next week.
Great. Thank you. Council Waterman.
Yes. From the docket, from Personnel and Human Services Committee, from the docket of January 8th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from Building Commissioner McDonough requesting funds to cover the cost of overtime due to the continued leave of absence of one of the local inspectors. Therefore, the mayor hereby requests this honorable body transfer $10,000 from the citywide reserve fund to the protective and inspection overtime fund.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Council Waterman. Any questions or comments?
Any questions? None? Hearing none?
This requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Council Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
And from the docket of January 8th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from Building Commissioner McDonough requesting funds to cover the cost to pay an alternate electrical inspector due to the leave of absence of the electrical inspector. Therefore, the mayor hereby requests this honorable body transfer $4,500 from the citywide reserve fund to the protective inspection professional service.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments, Council Waterman?
Any questions, comments?
Any questions from anyone else? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of December 18th, 2018, I move to approve the request of the mayor to confirm the appointment of Catherine Fierick to fill the 2-year term of Economic Development Director, term to expire February 2021. Ms. Fierick was offered the position of the City of Attleboro effective December 26, 2018, under a temporary 90-day appointment in accordance with Section 3-3B of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. Council Waterman, any comments or questions?
I do not have any. Does anyone else?
Councilor Conti, then Cobus.
Yes, I want to say this is not a breath of fresh air to Attleboro, but a breeze. I find Catherine to be highly qualified for this position that I have felt has been needed to be filled for many years. And I would urge my councilors to confirm her, because I believe that we have selected a candidate that is articulate, intelligent, experienced, and capable. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Council Cobus.
Thank you. I do have a couple comments that I had prepared ahead of time, and I ask that you hear it through. So I'd just like to take a quick minute to express my concerns that the administration has refused to communicate their expectations for this position or the goals for that position. Personally, I was looking to see that if we take on this additional salary position, that the city will see a demonstrable return on investment within a reasonable amount of time. I've yet to hear those goals and expectations laid out by the administration, and I think it's vital that they do so. For example, should we expect a percentage increase in commercial and industrial new growth? Over the past 10 years, the city has seen roughly $8.5 million in commercial and industrial new growth each year. Should we expect a 10% increase over that as compared to what we saw without an economic development director? In an annual cost for this position of over $100,000 to the city, a 10% increase wouldn't pay for itself in increased levy revenue for over 11 years. And I don't know if that's the right metric. Might the expected increase be more than 10%, or might it less? Or is the goal to renovate some of the old eyesores downtown or brownfield sites? Doing so may provide a much greater benefit than the immediate real estate tax growth. And now I'm open to the potential that the previous administration may have been more focused on economic development than the current administration. And as a result, the growth that we've seen over the past 10 years may not be sustainable under this current administration without the assistance of a full-time economic director. If that's the case, maybe breaking even with what we've seen under the previous administration is the best we can hope for. But I'd like to understand those expectations. To move forward without setting expectations is not only unfair to the taxpayers, but it's unfair to the nominee as well, in my opinion. And to be clear, this isn't the first time we've raised this concern. During our budget discussion, I moved to temporarily strike the new economic development director line item from the budget and reserve those funds until the administration provided goals and expectations for the position. And we collectively approved the following text in our budget message to the administration. And if you remember, it said, "This council would like to be informed when the formal job description has been completed by the personnel director. We urge the administration to be mindful of the request of the council to implement realistic success metrics and expected growth potential, which will define success for the economic development director and ultimately the city of Attleboro." And yet, we didn't see anything other than a draft job description. That's it. And the job description that was dropped off still had the draft water stamp on it. And so I'm concerned that we have no idea what we're getting for this taxpayer money. And as stewards for taxpayer funds, our job is to ask these hard questions and close the checkbook when due diligence hasn't been completed. And please, if anyone's aware of what the goals and expectations are, or if it's been communicated by the administration, please feel free to correct me or let me know, but I haven't heard anything. Over and over again, we complain about, our ever-shrinking debt capacity and inability to take on the growing list of urgent capital improvement projects. And yet, in last year's budget, the vast majority of increases went to payroll, which continued to decrease that debt capacity and ability to fund capital improvement projects. And now we're being asked to approve this nomination and commit to spending more than $100,000 annually for years and years to come without the administration providing the justification we had asked for. That doesn't seem right to me. And all of this is while we're also being asked to potentially pay over $8 million to repair the library. Now, if you bond that $8 million over the traditional 20 years, that's more than $700,000 a year, or roughly 7 economic development directors. So as stewards of taxpayer money, I'm concerned that we've already hired an economic development director without having those goals and expectations for the position presented to us. That's a huge concern for me. So I came in here tonight with these comments prepared. In my intent, and it still is, to ask the chair to, or the person to rescind their second until we can get this information from the administration. But after hearing from the candidate, I'm hesitantly comfortable moving forward. I was very impressed by the candidate herself and feel that she was incredibly intelligent, and she does bring a breath of fresh air to the city. And I would prefer to wait. And so if you're comfortable rescinding your second, that I would prefer to get this information from the mayor. I think it's important that they do their due diligence. But I'm not going to try to block this. I will be supporting it if we move forward tonight. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilor Blair, you need to take the seat because I'm going to give it up to make some comments. So you have a next most senior in the absence of the vice president.
President Cooper?
Thank you. So I don't disagree that we set an expectation in our budget message. But for the moment, I'm going to say, Councilor Conti, that this isn't a breeze. This was a tornado. Okay? So the opportunity for us as a city and as a council to evaluate this individual's performance is 6 months or a year from now. And if we don't like it, next budget season, yeah, we make some difficult decisions to cut it. If we don't get what we got, did you, Councilor Kobus, I have to ask you directly, some of your comments, and we did talk about this. Did you listen to the woman?
Absolutely.
What she said she can or will or has done is an opportunity that the city of Attleboro hasn't realized in the nearly 20 years that I've been given between the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and this council. I haven't seen that enthusiasm stand at that podium in almost 20 years. So I know you didn't get what you wanted in terms of getting us success metrics, and none of us did, because that's what we put in the message. But this woman moved here from Washington, D.C. and made a commitment to the city of Attleboro to come work here and do all the things she said she was going to do. And we ought to offer her that opportunity to prove to us that despite not getting metrics to this council, that she's going to do something positive for the city of Attleboro. And that concludes my comments. Thank you, Councilor Black.
I got a couple of words to say if you'll
Yeah,
recognize me.
yes, I will. I'm going to just go right down the line from Councilor Blair, Holmes, Reynolds, and Dolan. And Councilor Conti, I'm sorry. And I'll go right down the line, and we'll end at Councilor Conti.
I appreciate Todd's comments because that's where my thoughts were coming from originally when I spoke, probably out of turn tonight, and I apologize again. But that's what I expected, Todd, and we didn't get it. And I truly was impressed with this young lady's resume and the way she presented herself at that podium. I've been on this council for 20 years, and other than the past administration, I've never seen anybody talk with that enthusiasm at that podium. So I'm looking forward, and as Mark said, if it doesn't pan out, we don't put it in the budget, or we cut it. So we do have some recourse. And I'm looking forward, as I reach my point in life, to see Attleboro maybe turn around a little. And this young lady seems to have the willingness to do it. She shows the energy that I wish I had a third of. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what she can accomplish over the next 2 years. And if it falls flat in her face, I mean, if it falls flat, not you, dear. If the project falls flat in its face, then we don't fund it. I think you made a great point of that, Mark. So I will be supporting her wholeheartedly when the vote comes.
Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. I will be supporting this appointment. With that being said, I think that this administration is going to have an uphill battle if communication is not being, it's not happening. And I think that was the issue that everybody is saying. It's not the candidate, it's the process. We want to be included. And it was very clear in the budget message that we did want to be included. The draft of the job description came down in June. I was the chair of personnel. I never got the formal job description. And then the resume, which was received by the city in August 20th of this year, we didn't get it until December 4th. We could have been included in this and said that there's 2 candidates, this is what we're looking at, and I think that it's not a good way to kind of move the city forward. But I'm not gonna hold this up because we need to move the city forward. But with that being said, it's gonna be an uphill battle, and we're gonna continue to see more of these uncomfortable moments if we're not working with the administration, and the administration's not willing to work with us. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reynolds.
So I'll go right along with Counselor Holmes here, and I'm right in line with Counselor Cobus, and I love everything that you said as well, Mark, Counselor Cooper. So you were delightful, young lady. You're right on the money. You're enthusiastic, refreshing, and you have a damn hard job ahead of you. And I know you know it. I think you're up to the task. And again, I believe that the metrics weren't there. We asked for them. We were adamant in asking for them. We didn't get them. Again, it fell in a position that we might have, I don't want to say humiliate. I hope we didn't humiliate you, because the idea was not that. And again, you were wonderful. You spoke well. I think you have all the right ideas, and I think they're going to be hard. They are going to be hard to make it happen. It's just not going to be an easy task. We know it. We've seen it. We've seen the failures. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I'm looking forward to seeing all the things that you're hopeful to accomplish. And I think that Mark's on the money. We'll look in a year. I would like to see Catherine come back in 90 days. In the period that she's got her trial period here, 90 days, I would love for her to come back and tell us what that 90 days, what was going on. Does she need more help from us? What can we do to help her in any way? I mean, I'm from South Attleboro, so, you know, I have this big mass of retail that's down there. But it would be nice, too, to be able to make sure that the people that live down there have a way to walk around and get to places, that they don't have to lose themselves on Route 1, that there are little areas where people can go for a cup of coffee and walk to it without having to get killed as they're trying to cross Route 1. So I'm looking forward to all of the things that are happening here, but I'm right in line with Councilor Cobus, and I think most of us feel that way. We were looking for something, we didn't get it, and now we're counting on you, Catherine, to show us those numbers as you find your way around the city. So I'm looking forward to seeing you more often.
Councillor Dolan.
Thank you. I'm right in line with everything that President Cooper said. With the tornado, like I stated before, I've lived here my entire life, and I've never felt more excited than I feel right now. You know, I'm excited for everything that she said, And, you know, you may not have gotten what you wanted, and I agree, the administration should have done what we asked them to do in the budget message. You know, we don't write the budget message for nothing. But I'd also like to say, before I was a counselor, and I sat in that audience a lot, and sat at home a lot, and saw what everybody before me did, the budget messages before my time, a lot of budget messages have been ignored from this administration, the previous administration, and, you know, I really didn't pay attention to the one before that. But anyway, the budget message we do for a reason, and it should be addressed. But to see her speak up there the way she did, I've never been more thrilled in my life, and I would love nothing more than to be able to make some progress here, and I feel like she is absolutely the person to do it. And I can't wait to see anything whatsoever. And I implore my other counselors to please support this, and I absolutely support this appointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Delesio.
Thank you. President Cooper, Councilor Cobus, I agree with a lot of what was said. I really do. I think where Councilor Cobus is coming in, I'm up late nights, in the middle of the night, thinking about the expenditures that we have coming down this track. And there's a lot. And there's a lot that we need to be concerned about. But what we're doing now in terms of business development especially isn't working. And we need to do something. One of my favorite quotes in the world is from Wayne Gretzky, which is, you're gonna miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And right now, we have an opportunity to take a shot. This is funny because I'm sitting around and, you know, I think we could go around and look at campaign literature from, you know, quite a few of us to talk about downtown revitalization.
20 years.
Absolutely.
Business friendly. We need an economic developer. We have it. And we have someone. And I was impressed with your resume, Catherine. I really was. But it pales in comparison to what you were able to discuss tonight. It pales in comparison to what I think we'll be able to do going forward. And the reality of the matter is, the more money that we invest locally, the more comes back to us. Is it gonna pay for that $8.5 million library? No. But it's gonna put us in a position where maybe it's gonna help us attract more businesses. Maybe it's gonna help put more people back to work. Maybe it's gonna keep people employed. We need someone who can direct this city. As I said to her earlier, I'm concerned. Attleboro, we used to be the jewelry city. No one here can tell me what our identity is. We don't have an identity. And if Catherine can come in and Catherine can help us define and carve out a brand new identity, then to me, that's a success metric. I will echo the concerns of my colleagues. We need to know what success looks like. If we don't have measures, if we don't have goals, we're hoping for success. And what we need to do is be able to put ourselves in a situation where we can plan for success. I just want to make sure that's everything. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Conti?
Thank you, Mr. President. Catherine, welcome to New England. Counselors, my perspective as a counselor and as a city employee, as an assessor in a neighboring city, is a little different, because every day I see two sides of a lot of things. And I don't play that card in this council chambers very often, but I'm playing it tonight because my perspective tells me that Councilor Cobus is a little bit too strong in one direction and has to realize that performance metrics in a position like a community development director are not finite. You cannot set a finite goal because there's too many factors that are outside of the control of the position. The reality is, the mayors have been ignoring, Councilor Dolan said this, mayors have been ignoring our budget messages since I've been a councilor.
Yes, they have.
Yes, they have.
I know.
They've been ignoring capital improvement messages too. Mayors essentially ignore our messages, and that's just the way it is.
Which is
I
why we
think
ignore them.
that this position is an investment. You see, you want to talk about checkbook. You've seen me vote against chairs for the council. That's checkbook. That's when you should close the checkbook. We don't need new chairs, but we're getting them. This position is an investment for growth, and you need to understand the role of growth in the city of Attleboro. We are restricted by Proposition 2.5 to a levy that can only grow 2.5% a year. If we don't add growth to that, we are not going to be able to meet the insatiable demands that taxpayers have on this city and the very limited resources we have to deliver to them the things that they want. This investment in a community economic director is an investment in the growth in Attleboro. Every dollar that comes in as a result of her efforts is forever in our levy. Forever. So we're able to get out of the shackles of Proposition 2.5. And without her, we're subject to the whims and wishes of all things out of our control. So I'm asking councilors, again, to support her. I believe she has the support to get the position. I agree with you, Mr. President. I was being restrained when I said it wasn't a breeze of fresh air, that wasn't a breath of fresh air, that it was a breeze. Tornado may be a little bit over the top, but I appreciate your support, Mr. President, because I really believe this is a very important vote of this council, that she plays a very important role in our future, and I can't support her enough, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilor Kobus, did you have?
Yes, I do. So just in a super quick response, I agree with you, Councilor Delicio, when you say that if you're not setting goals, you're just sort of hoping for success. And we had asked for those goals and expectations, not just as part of the budget message, and I get it, that could get lost, and administrations may have been ignoring that for years and years and years. But I had emailed the mayor the other day, and his response was simply, the mayor and economic development director are not required to submit anything to the council on that matter. So that's disappointing to me with regards to that. So I came in here frustrated about those sort of things, but I agree that I was very impressed. And so as a result of that, I'm willing to move forward. I don't intend to block this. I intend to support the measure, mainly because of the presentation put out there by Mrs. Farrick. So that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Council Waterman.
First of all, Councilor Reynolds, I thank you for your second, because of your second, we were all able to hear what Catherine Farrick is just alive with. And now we know the excitement, you know the excitement that I've been feeling since I first talked to her in December when we had an hour's conversation. She was in DC, and I was hoping she could come up then, but she was dedicated to finishing her work. I don't blame her. The thing that most enthused me about Catherine is we talked about where would she live. She has friends in the area that are outside of Attleboro. She wants to live here. She wants to be able to walk here. She has a vision of walking in this city that is incredible. I was thinking Burlington, Vermont while she was talking. Have you been to Burlington and seen their downtown? I don't know if we can accomplish that, but I was very excited by getting to know her before you even met her. Yes, I did not get any help from the mayor's office either. But I don't want that to cloud this. This $83,000, I think that's your salary, somewhere in that paragraph. $83,000 investment is like a drop in the bucket compared to the library. This is terrific. I'm done.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Councilor Jackson.
I just have a very brief comment. First of all, I will not be withdrawing my second. And just as a reminder, since everybody is very unhappy with the administration not getting any answers, it is an election year, guys. You're welcome to take out papers. Just keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Counselor Jackson. Yeah. Counselor
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes. Moving on, Mr.
That was
Water.
easy.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You can go home now if you want.
Am I supposed to? Yes, you have one more.
Oh, I do. In the light of all that, forgot. Okay. From the docket of December 18th, 2018, I move to strike from the committee the request of the mayor to confirm the appointment of Nicholas Lavoy, 25 Daly Street, to the Traffic Study Commission, term to expire February 2020.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No.
Hearing none, this was just a voice vote? Voice vote is required. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
That concludes my business. We'll meet at an appropriate time.
Thank you, Counselor Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for capital improvements and city development, we have no business to bring before the council this evening, but we look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Excellent, thank you. Counselor Cobus.
Reporting for zoning and land use, we have no business tonight, and call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Delicio.
Thank you. Reporting for budget and appropriations, we have no business, and I know I've been really quiet tonight, but I forgot during my committee. I spoke with Barry Lacasse today. They're expecting the budget sheets within the next, the cherry sheets rather, within the next 7 to 10 days. I'm going to follow up with Barry. I am going to be calling for a budget update for February, similarly to what we did in October with Deb, Barry, and Laura. If anyone would like to invite someone, if they could run it by me first, that would be greatly appreciated. In listening to the messaging tonight about the budget message, I think we can blame the administrations, this one and past administrations, but we as a council have yet to really follow up. So, that being said, I will be requesting a follow-up on the budget message from this year at that February meeting, so we can keep it alive, because I think that's incumbent upon us. I don't know.
So through the, Mr. President, to the chair, in the reporting for Mr. Lacasse, would you please add to the list of detail, I would like to know the status of the revolving accounts, the dollars that have flowed into them year-to-date. And I'd like to review all revolving accounts mid-year, because I'm anticipating a change during our annual vote next year.
Sure. And that's something I did discuss with Barry and what I'd like to do, and I've yet to talk to the city treasurer and the city auditor about that meeting, but I don't want to belabor this point, so I will like to call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Dolan.
I had something, but
Okay.
I'll send it through, Virginia.
Reporting for License Committee, I have one motion this evening from the docket of January 8th, 2019. I entertain a motion to approve the application dated December 17th, 2018 from Papagino's Inc., 103 Pleasant Street, Attleboro, for a coin-operated amusement device license.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No
Counselor Dolan?
comments.
Any from anyone else? Hearing none, a voice vote is required. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
That's all I have for business for Licenses Committee, and I'd like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Perfect. Thank you. Counselor Reynolds.
Reporting for City Property and Claims Committee, I have one motion on the docket. From the docket of January 8th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor regarding a communication from Director of Veteran Services Ken Batashir for the donation of $25 in Dunkin' Donuts gift certificates from Patricia Vieira in memory of her late husband Joseph R. Vieira, in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro. I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Thank you. Voice vote is required. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
That is all the Business, City, Property, and Claims Committee has this evening, but I would like to call a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great, thank you. Council Holmes.
Thank you. Reporting for ordinance, elections of legislative committee. From the docket of October 16, 2018, I move to approve the following addition to the ordinance of City of Attleboro as it pertains to plastic waste reduction. Plastic waste reduction ordinance, bring your own bag ordinance.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any questions or comments?
So I hope everybody at this point has received the email from Mr. Perry. He did ask that we make an amendment to change the date, which I would like to do.
Second.
Thank you.
So we just need to know where that is.
Sure, so it is
7-11.7.
I didn't see that email.
Which one is it, Mr. President Cooper?
7-11.7, the effective date. So this, I move to change the wording from this ordinance shall take effect on or after July 1st, 2019 to be October 1st is what he suggested. So it would be October 1st, 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any discussion on the amendment?
At first, I was a little bit, I asked, like, well, why do we need to do that? Because I said, a lot of the businesses I spoke to already have a plan in place, but he said, he corrected me and indicated we have to enforce this, and this is what it will take us to get prepared for it. So I was comfortable doing that, and I kind of felt bad that I didn't think of that. But, so he's just requesting a little bit of a later date.
Sure. Any other questions or comments about the amendment? Hearing, do we need a roll call?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
So, yeah.
Second was Todd Cobus, Council Cobus.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll have a roll call vote on the amended date to October 1st.
Okay.
And the roll call vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you. The amendment passes. Now we're to the motion as amended. Any other questions comments?
I do not right now.
Okay, anyone else? Councilor Cobus and then Conti. I tried to say them both at the same time, and I was looking at you, but
Not easy.
I'm going to move to make an amendment, but if you don't mind, I'd like to pass around the terms of, or the text, so everybody has it. The yellow text is the amendment. So I move to amend section 7-11.3, regulated conduct, to insert a paragraph between paragraphs A and B and then renumber accordingly. The paragraph will read, retail establishments shall charge a fee of not less than 5 cents for each checkout bag provided to any person. No retail establishment shall be required to charge such fee for an exempt bag. All monies collected by a retail establishment under this section shall be retained by the establishment. No retail establishment shall charge a checkout bag fee for bags of any kind provided by the customer in lieu of a checkout bag. No retail establishment shall prevent a person from using a bag of any kind that they have brought to any such retail establishment for purposes of carrying goods from such establishment.
Second.
thank you. Motion's in order. Council Cobus.
So this changes the proposed ordinance to be far more effective, and I had sent around a news article talking about how simple plastic bag bans aren't very effective, in that all the retail establishments just use thicker bags and give those away as a workaround, and it isn't effective in curbing usage or what people do. So by charging this relatively small fee, the huge thing that happens is every time somebody checks out from the grocery store or whatever, the cashier says, would you like to purchase bags, or have you brought your own? And so at checkout, everybody has to make the decision to say, yes, I'll buy the 10 bags or whatever, or no, I've brought them from home. But that in and of itself is what's called a second generation bag ban. It's what they've enacted across all of California, and when I fly out there for work periodically, it's useful for them to have that option to say, would you like to purchase a bag? Sure. And they have the little barcode next to all the registers, and they just scan it real quick, and it's straightforward, it's easy, and it's also proven to actually be effective in reducing plastic waste. That concludes my comments.
Councilor Conti and then Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I won't be voting for this amendment. I did review the material that Councilor Cobus had, and I follow the logic of his argument, but I see this measure as being very anti-business, that a retail establishment having to charge only a nickel. I mean, just the accounting alone is a nightmare, and its legislation is trying to change a behavior, and that strikes me as just a little out of whack either. This is not the Federal Republic of Attleboro. This is Attleboro. So I don't like it. And you know, that'll conclude my comments. I've said enough.
So, just so I'm clear, Councilor Cobus, if the retail establishment provides a recyclable paper bag or a reusable checkout bag, they pay, by this amendment, they pay the nickel. Is that
Correct.
right? Okay, thank you. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you. So to the chair, please, if I could?
Sure.
Thank you. Councilor Holmes, had you seen this before? And has it, my first question is, have you seen this, reviewed it before we were just handed it? And has the city solicitor seen it as well?
So yes, the city solicitor has seen this. I asked her to review it. They have rolled this out in Boston as well recently with a fee, and she said that both versions were lawful. So she said that we can do the fee, or we could keep it as is. So basically, the ordinance that we have without the fee is kind of the first phase. A lot of times, this is kind of skipping right to phase 2, which is implementing the fee. So it is trying to change a behavior, and I understand what Councilor Conti is saying. The establishment does keep the 5 cents, but you're saying that it's a process to even set that up. So.
Thank you. Did you have other questions?
No, thank you.
Councilor Dolan, Reynolds, and then Delicia.
I would support this, and, when we talk about changing people's behavior, I mean, there's tons of legislation, there's tons of things that we do as a city, as a state, to change people's behavior. Part of the reason why I want to support this is because, like I stated before when we were talking about this, when I went to other communities that have plastic, that have the ban, and they work around it. We've read things about changing our carbon footprint when it doesn't necessarily change when we go to paper bags. It doesn't necessarily change when they circumvent the system just to make a thicker plastic bag. So basically, we're implementing something that these communities or these businesses work around and have a thicker plastic bag when nobody actually reuses it, because it's really not thick enough that it's like, well, this is a nice keeper, And not only that, if you remind people of the nickel, and this is my theory, because I myself have been trying to use less plastic bags, even though it's not, nobody's forcing me to do it. But I went to CVS one day in Attleboro, and the guy says to me, I bought shampoo and conditioner. And the guy goes, do you want a bag? And I'm like, you know what? I don't need a bag. I just walked to my car. But had he not asked me, normally, I mean, you buy a Tootsie Roll and they throw it in the bag, hand it to you, you walk out the door. You don't think a second of it. I never did. Buy one item, throw it in the bag, grab it, walk out, you're on your way, and then you do whatever with that bag. So just them saying, do you want to purchase this bag for 5 cents? And then, someone looks at their shampoo and goes, I don't need a bag. No, I don't want to purchase it. Nor am I going to take one. So I think the nickel, while, it may be, some might think it's too much, some might think it's not. It's even just a reminder to say, you know what, you probably don't even need this bag. But, when I was shopping in a neighboring community that has the ban, they were handing out bags every store I went to. And I did, my rounds, paper, plastic, whatever, just thicker. Nobody asked, nobody did, so I completely support this. And that concludes my comments.
Council Reynolds.
So I just want to understand this, because it says retail establishments shall charge a fee of not less than 5 cents for each checkout bag provided. So they could charge 6 cents or 7 cents or $1.
$10.
Correct? Yeah. So, and they get to keep the money, the retail establishment. So we're not hurting, we're not hurting, I don't see how we're hurting the retail establishment. We're just saying to the purchaser that's in there, the buyer of goods, hey, bring your own bag if you don't want to be charged 5 cents or more. And because a lot of the stores do have those bags, and they charge $1 or 99 cents. A lot of the grocery stores that sell those bags, that's what they charge. I mean, I never even heard of anybody getting it for 5 cents. So I think it's reasonable. It's money they get to keep. It's I'm in line also with Councilor Blair that all of this could have been prevented if people just took their plastic bags and threw them away where they were supposed to in the first place. So this is just an added layer of stuff because people didn't do it. And now Waste Management, who never would take it, is saying we are not taking it. So I don't see how it would hurt. I mean, the person it hurts is us as the buyer that goes in that doesn't bring their own bag. So it's a mindset, if you will, of, hey, bring your bags. I never bring my bags. They give me the plastic bag. I sometimes say, can I have paper, please? I'm into the paper ones. But I think it's a mindset. It's like what used to happen with smoking. It's the same type of thing. It's just training people to think in advance. So I don't have a problem with it, quite frankly. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Colbert.
Thank you for bringing that up. That it is just a 5 cent fee. It's relatively small. But yes, they could charge more. But studies have shown that without the fee, businesses just increase the thickness of their bags, which costs them more, or use paper, which also costs a lot more than the thin film single-use plastic bags. And if there isn't a required fee to say you must charge a minimum fee of 5 cents or whatever, because nobody else charges a fee, all the businesses just give away those bags and then charge the cost somewhere else. So in my mind, this is actually more business friendly. And it's not a hardship to set up the little barcode and have an additional item that people scan. It's pretty straightforward, and in my mind, this is more business friendly than not.
Councilor Delissio.
We're charting in very dangerous territories when government starts to intervene in the day-to-day operations of businesses. I cannot support this because, as I've said a million times since I've been in office, a fee is a tax. And what we're doing is we're putting a 5 cent, and it realistically could go up to $10, could go to 20, could say it's 6, but we're opening it up. So now we want to change the behavior to get away from the thin plastic bags, and then people will start to go to paper bags, but now we want to charge them to use the paper bags. It doesn't make sense to me. So, okay, personally, I think this is a little bit of over-regulation in general. I understand where we're at. I understand, and believe me, I've had some interesting conversations with people. I had an elderly woman stop me at Stop and Shop and say, please don't get rid of the plastic bags because it's easy for me to carry when I get home. I don't have the cloth bags. I don't want the cloth bags. I understood that, and that kind of resonated with me. But then I was you read this a little bit more, and it's those thin film plastic bags. If a retailer, if this is gonna pass, which I'm surmising it's going to, where does it stop? Now we're saying they can't use the thick plastic bags, oh, that'll be next, but we're gonna charge them a fee, but then we're gonna charge them a fee for the paper bag, or we're gonna tell them they have to use the checkout bag. I'm concerned about the environment as well. I understand those concerns. The bigger problem, and Councilor Dolan hit on it, I believe it's Councilor Dolan, hit on it, it's waste management can't handle the processing of this, and that's where it comes into. So I'm okay because this is the way of the world. Like these thin film plastic bags, they're going away. I also had an interesting conversation with one of the clerks at a local grocery store who said, everyone's putting all this great hoopla up about those reusable bags, which I support, he told me. He said, except for when people come in and they don't wash those recyclable bags, and there's remnants of past purchases in there. And he told me some horror stories. So this is one of those that I'm going to ultimately support the motion itself. I'm not going to support this tax.
I think it was Councilor Dolan, Blair, and then Conti. And actually, I take that back. Councilor Conti's been patiently waiting. And then
Thank you, Mr.
Dolan and Blair.
President. Councilors, I'm going to tell you, I go shopping every Sunday. I take my 5 cloth bags into grocery shopping. The first time you pass this amendment, the first time I need a 6th bag, and they charge me 5 cents, I'm going to curse every one of you for passing this amendment. Not only me, but everybody in the city of Attleboro is going to curse you every time they get charged a nickel for a bag. This is not going to go over well. That concludes my comments.
I agree.
Councilor Dolan.
What don't they curse us about? I mean, regardless of what we do, but it's not, it's not a tax. It's not a tax. And, you're talking about the People's Republic of Attleboro. It's like everything the state, the government, everything they do to alter our behavior. And it's not about waste management as far as I'm concerned. You know what, if waste management has to go up in their prices, I mean, I'll be miserable about it, and everybody will hear about it on social media. But I mean, we're past that. It's beyond that, and it's beyond waste management, and it's beyond Attleboro. So why pass something that isn't going to make an impact, a substantial impact? Again, if they circumvent the system and go to the thicker plastic bags, we're just having more plastic. And then, as far as the nickel and people cursing me, us, whoever decides to go with it, I get it. It's not a tax. And again, even just asking the question, do you want to buy a bag? That person may not take the bag at all. They have one item. I don't need a bag. And I've been trying to be more cognizant of that. And as far as disgusting bags, well, that's their problem. They should, somebody needs to dump it out or whatever. And again, the meat, when it doesn't apply to, how you go get hamburger, you pull,
I fully get that.
and it doesn't apply to those. So
fully understand that.
whomever has those bags, you put the meat in and you don't get your other one grossed out. But I don't know. I don't know. I support this. I think it's important, and I think we need to think beyond Attleboro and beyond waste management, and to make it meaningful. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilor Blair and then Holmes.
I'll get back to my original statement. This is a legislative body for the city of Attleboro. It's not a environmental board. I said before, we wouldn't have this discussion if we weren't worried about waste management going up on the price of our trash removal. It was basically because people weren't doing what they were supposed to, and it was the thin bags that was causing waste management to have a problem in their plant, sorting the rubbish. It was getting in the machines and it wasn't passing through.
I won't vote for 5 cents, but I think it's an insult to the people. Ask them if they want a bag, fine, but it's another inconvenience. We got a young lady here that's trying to push businesses, that's her job. Let's be business friendly. And let's not tell, as Councilor Delicio said, it's not up to us to manage a person's business. We're here to get our trash picked up at a reasonable price. If people had done what they were supposed to, it wouldn't even have come before the council. The main reason it came before the council, because we were afraid that Waste Management was gonna go up on their contract. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
Okay, so this, as written, serves that purpose. If the guy that runs Stop and Shop says, I'm gonna continue with plastic bags, but they're gonna be thicker and it's not gonna foul Waste Management's machine. And if we got the, what do we call him, trash Nazi going around checking the recycling bins?
We do.
In doing that job correctly, then you'll stop it eventually. The nickel won't stop them, but a $20 fine will. And we're not an environmental board. I didn't run to be an environmentalist. I'm here for a different reason. And I honestly believe you did a great job on this. It serves the purpose that we intended. And I won't vote for the amendment, but I'll vote for the motion.
Council Holmes.
Thank you. So again, businesses, and this is happening in Boston with the fee. With that being said, it is a phase 2, and so I can understand what Councilor Delicio is saying. It feels a little bit like, so it's this, and then it's this, and that's because it is. It's a more sophisticated version of what's coming out right now. I think that if it doesn't pass tonight, in the next few years, this will be the next phase of what's happening with this type of ordinance. So I'd like to move the question.
Great, thank you. There is no other discussion on this matter, and we vote to move?
They moved on the amendment, right?
Or
Move the amendment.
Yeah, sorry, move the
We'll
amendment.
vote on the
Amendment.
amendment. Charge them 5 cents or more.
That's right. And that will require a roll call vote, and will be
You're voting on
The
the
amendment.
question
to
first.
move the question. We're voting first, Steve, so we're voting first to move the question, and then we'll vote. If it passes to move it, we'll vote the amendment.
Okay?
Do you understand, does everybody understand what we're voting? Okay. Roll call vote will begin with Counselor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you. We are now voting on the amendment for the fee of a nickel for each checkout bag provided. Is everybody clear on what we're voting on? And we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Counselor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
No.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
No.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
No.
Mr. Waterman?
No.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
President Cooper?
No,
4 yeas, 6 nays.
motion fails. The amendment fails, I'm
The
sorry.
amendment failed.
Moving on to the original motion as amended. Any other questions or comments? Counselor Copus?
Well, I move to amend again, but hopefully this one will be a little bit more straightforward. I move to amend the second paragraph of 7-11.3 regulated conduct, which originally was paragraph B, but in the handout, it shows up as paragraph C. To insert the words "with a total of 3,500 square feet or more."
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. on the second amendment. Actually, the third proposed amendment, Councilor Colbert.
This just changes the square footage of retail establishments that are required to have the recycling bins placed in the store to accept these thin plastic bags and dispose of them. In my mind, it doesn't make sense that we have these in restaurants, in laundromats, in these smaller stores. It makes more sense to require the larger stores to include this, and this was the recommendation from Alan, so.
Second.
It was seconded by Councilor Delacio.
By who seconded?
Councilor Delacio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. So Mr. Perry did suggest this. He felt like if there's a laundromat, they would be responsible for accepting bags that were from like a grocery store, and it could get really complicated. So this is a way to address that. So it would be just the larger grocery stores that a lot of them already have in collection, in store collection. So it seems to, this amendment really makes sense to me.
Any other questions or comments about the amendment? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
No.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Delacio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
No.
President Cooper?
Yes.
8 yeas, 2 nays.
Motion passes.
Stay alone.
And, hold on one second, let me just. Great. Any other questions or comments? Now we're back to the ordinance as amended, the date and the 3,500 square feet. Any other questions or comments? Hearing, Councilor Cobus.
And I hate to bring this up, there is a small typo from what was originally put forward, and I asked for a procedural thing. It does say 2 1/4 mils thick in the original document that was sent out, but the mayor said 4. And I don't know how you would like to proceed with that. Should we,
Where are we?
just, I want to make sure we have everything right. Under the definition for reusable checkout bag. Thickness there. That was, maybe.
Yeah, I
What
found
is
it.
it, 7-11?
5, it's 7-11-25.
So we can move to change it back to what it originally said, or it could be a scrivener's error. This is the
Here's
typo.
what was
Okay.
originally said.
It was 4. Okay.
The original motion was 4,
Proposed by the mayor,
proposed by the mayor.
4 mils, and we changed to 2.
This is-
This was read out of committee, 2.25 mils thick was read out of committee.
So then that was what I read out of committee, and
Okay.
that was what we did the public hearing on was the 2.25 mils, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, then it is.
2.25, yes.
She read it out of committee,
I
but-
believe I read it out
Okay,
of
so
committee,
that's-
yes.
My question is that, my comment is then, do we want to discuss that or change it? I'm comfortable with 2.25.
And that's what the motion is.
Any other?
I just got one question. 2.25 satisfies waste management?
So it's not, we're not satisfying waste management because it shouldn't be in the recyclables anyway.
I understand, I said that, that was a comment.
So I know you did.
But they're still gonna put it in the recycling, so I'm hoping that the 2.25, if it ends up in the recycling, which it's not, a thin one-purpose bag isn't supposed to, is that gonna trigger waste management and increase?
No, so.
Okay.
I would say they're two separate issues, Councilor Blair.
All right.
So I did meet with the mayor, and all of the efforts and publicity that this has gained over the last few weeks. The most recent audit, we were about 33%, we're down to 13%, just on the education, and the mayor was hopeful that this plastic bag ordinance would push it to the under 10% of non-recyclables in the recyclable
Seems what it
stream.
seems to
So it really has worked, and he was hopeful that this would push it over into the less than 10%. So if it's a problem with the mills of the bag, we can come back and make that change.
Thank you.
Council Dolan.
So, but does the 2.25 milliliters meet the standard of it does meet the standard of a non-single-use bag?
That's how we're defining it, as a 2.25 mils thick bag is a reusable checkout bag.
Okay.
All right. I just have to ask this, Mark, because I don't have the original one, but if you look here, so number 5 says the thin film, single-use plastic checkout bag. If said film is less than 4.0 mils in thickness, but you go up to 3B, other durable material, including plastic that is at least 2.25,
Right.
these don't.
So you're talking about reusable checkout bags?
That's right, but if a
Right, which-
reusable is at least 2.25, how can a thin film plastic one use
Before,
be 4? It doesn't make any sense.
the other way around.
I don't know, but
Right.
So should we
something's not
move to
right.
make an amendment?
The numbers should match.
The numbers
No,
have-
no.
or be,
No.
the
two different
reusable,
types of
the, well, I had
I'm
my
out.
turn, it was my turn.
I know that, but I have other people barking at me, so I'm about to say, Council Reynolds has the floor. So,
Okay, so what I'm thinking is, a reusable checkout bag has to be at least, I guess, over 2.25. I don't know, but the thin film can't certainly be 4 and under. It doesn't make any sense if it's just a single use. I don't know what the answer is, but something's wrong here.
so I don't know that I agree, because if you read the definition in its entirety,
Yes, I am.
number 3,
Okay, yes.
reusable checkout bag. Reusable, keyword,
Yes.
shall mean any bag with handles that is specifically designed and manufactured for multiple long-term reuse,
Yes.
made of cloth or hand-washable fabric or other durable material, including plastic that is 2.25 mils thick. So you're
Exactly.
saying, to be plastic, they're
They're saying.
restricting to 2.25.
I know, but how can you have a single-use plastic checkout be 4.0?
Point
Or
of
less.
5.
Or less.
Because,
It can be or less,
because
but even if
look at
it's...
what it's made of. You're talking about a thin film, single use, another key word, right? So you don't want your reusables to be thick. You want to say 2.25 because you want to discourage the use of it so that when they put their stuff in, the bottom blows out of the bag. That's the purpose of doing this. You want that bag to be, you don't want it to be too thick because it's not gonna, it's
So-
gonna get back to your comments earlier.
I just don't know how, I guess so Counselor, I'm asking, is 4.0 mils, and if said film is less than 4.0 mils in thickness, then it fits thin film, single-use plastic. Am I reading this wrong? Yes.
Yes, because it is a thin film, single-use plastic checkout bag made of these things, right?
Which is plastic.
HDPE, LPDE.
Yeah.
Polychlorine, blah, 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 blah.
Yes, I know,
Right?
yes.
So if it's less than 4, and it's made of those things, it's a thin film, single-use plastic checkout bag.
But plastic that's at least 2.25 is thicker.
I
that
get
what you-
that.
I don't get that, that's what
So
I'm
that
saying.
other durable plastic, including plastic that is at least 2.25 mils thick. Council Delicio.
So, one, I think we're talking about two different types of bags.
Yes, we
Yes,
are.
yes.
I know we are, no
Secondly,
kidding.
secondly, The health agent has already reviewed this ordinance, and he has made his suggestions, and his suggestions had nothing to do with either of these. However, I do appreciate where Council Cobus is coming, and we want consistency.
If we were concerned about, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
If we were concerned about the mills, why are we waiting until the 11th hour at 9:45 to talk about it?
I didn't notice it.
Because it wasn't noticed.
Till just,
If I
till
still have
just
the
now.
floor.
Move the
Yes, you do,
question.
sir.
I think the biggest point, the biggest concern, we're not experts on plastic bags and mills and this and that and the other thing. My concern is Alan Perry, who is the expert, looked at it, didn't bring this out. Therefore, I would like to move to question.
Second.
All in favor of moving the question? No, we got to do a roll call vote, I'm sorry.
We tried.
I did. Will be a roll call vote and begin with Councilor Blair. I believe, right?
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
No,
Ms. Dolan,
No.
Mr. Delicio,
Yes.
Mr. Cobus,
No.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes,
7 yeas, 3 nays.
thank you, motion passes. So we are to the motion as amended with the date and the 3,500 square feet.
Yep.
That's what's moved, that's what's before us. Does everybody understand what we're voting on? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Cobus,
Yes.
Mr. Delicio,
Yes.
Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
no,
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes,
9 yeas, 1 nay.
thank you, motion passes. Second.
I have one other thing. So from the docket of November 6, 2018, I move to call a public hearing regarding the business to amend Section 11-11 under city, under Chapter 11 offenses for the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro as it pertains to hunting and firearms.
Second. I think you said 11-11. I have 11-14.
Oh, yes, 11-14, sorry.
That's
Who
okay.
seconded, I'm sorry?
I did.
Go ahead, Jack.
You're welcome.
So, I just have a question for you, and I might have missed it. Did you read this into committee, this ordinance? Because this is what's going to have to be published,
I have not.
so you should read it.
Okay. Proposed hunting and firearm ordinance. This is from Councilor Cobus and Councilor Dolan. I entertain a motion to amend Section 11-11 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro as follows. Delete Section 11-14 firearms under Chapter 11 offenses and replace it with the following. Section 11-14 hunting and firearms. 11-14.1, no person shall discharge any firearm or explosive in any of the streets, sidewalks, or other public places within the limits of the city, except in the lawful defense of person, family, property, or in the performance of any duty required by law. 11-14.2, no person shall hunt within the limits of any highway, park, conservation, or other property owned or controlled by the City of Attleboro. 11-14.3, no person shall hunt on private property except with the written consent of the property owner or legal occupant thereof, which consent shall be dated not more than 1 year prior to the act complained of. 11-14.4, written permission obtained in compliance with the section, as well as all licenses, permits, and stamps required for hunting under state law shall, at the time while hunting, be in the possession of the person to whom it was issued and must be available for inspection. 11-14.5, it shall be unlawful for any person to set, trigger, activate, or otherwise use or cause to be set, trigger, activated or used any type of steel jaw or leg hold trap, including but not limited to padded or unpadded leg hold traps, of conibear or kill type traps within the limits of the highway, park, conservation land, or public property, or on any private property in the City of Attleboro. Trapping on posted or unposted private property with any type of trap not already prohibited by this section shall only be permitted with a box trap if written permission is obtained from the owner or legal occupant person having the right of control thereof. 11-14.6, whatsoever violations of the provision of this ordinance shall be punished by a fine of $300 at the first offense and each offense thereafter. Each violation shall be considered a separate offense. Each day that any violation continues shall be considered a separate offense.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is in order.
I think we should have the public hearing and let's hear what the public has to say. And then bring it forward.
And the only thing I would add is make sure that the police chief is aware.
Correct, so the police chief I'm in contact with, and we're planning to have a conversation about this as well as the city solicitor. So I plan to have all of that information when I bring it into committee as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. We'll have a public hearing on that matter on, what did you say?
I think February 5th.
February 5th.
When is it?
February 5th.
February 5th.
Plan on the full house.
Yes. Any other,
I found the Attleboro Little Free Library. I know I've said this, but I just wanted to read this. So it's our little free library. It all started with a 6-year-old girl. We were vacationing in Cape Cod when she noticed a lot of the little free libraries. She said to us we should have one in Attleboro. She had a great idea, and so this woman's husband and her decided to support the idea, and after getting permission from the city, we started building the library. Her idea came to life, and we're so proud of her. We're excited to share it with everybody. So it's located right at Capron Park, where the park is, and includes the business for ordinance, election, legislative matters committee, and I'll call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
great, thank you. Councilor Blair.
I have no business, public safety, emergency management tonight, but we can request a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Councilor Conti, would you like to call for a committee meeting for transportation and traffic?
Yes, I think Councilor Reynolds is the vice chair.
I have you.
Okay, I would like to call for a Transportation and Traffic Committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Any other
Well said.
issues, questions, comments? There is no old business. There's one item of new business. And Councilor Dolan, are you handling that?
My new business?
With Mr. Councilor Waterman?
You and Councilor Watt? Oh, no, it's Holmes. I'm sorry.
Do you
Councilor
want to
Holmes.
read it? Do you mind? No.
No.
I don't have it right in front of me.
So do we want to wait?
No.
Wait a second. This is it.
Yeah, right here. Someone wants it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I move, under new business, to refer the following matter to the appropriate, no, that's, do I read that?
Yes.
Okay, following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation. To adopt MGL Chapter 40, Section 8J as it pertains to changing the Attleboro Disabilities Committee to the Attleboro Disabilities Commission, and all that entails.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Councilor Waterman, any?
Well, I spoke with the chair of the Disabilities Commission and Disabilities Committee, excuse me. And what I was basically informed with is they have much more access to grants from the state if they become a commission. That's the major deal.
Councilor Holmes, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, we've been trying to work on this for a while now, and it is just that the grant money, access to having grant money, they can do things, it costs, I think it's like $500,000. When you stop, when you press the button that says it's safe to walk, it costs like $500,000 to get that installed. And this is access to get state money to either get that, or even playgrounds where they have swings that individuals on a wheelchair can go on. So this is just a way to make us more accessible, and I think it's really a great opportunity. So it was kind of in, when I was chairing the personnel, it was in my committee, and we're not sure if it's going to be an ordinance. So it was just something that we were thinking would be helpful to do, so.
It could be in either committee, really. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Counselor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Clovis?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Thank you. That'll be assigned to Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee. And that concludes the business for this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 9:56.
I thought I had all my
Yeah,
paperwork.
you never should have.